The Exile. Inej felt a tremor at the same time the Yelmes did. It showed up first as a shifting in the threads, the little lines of light weaving themselves through the living. Inej couldn't see those properly anymore, but he'd have to have been as blind as the humans to miss the way the world shimmered, distorting around the edges. To the Yelmes, the threads must have twanged like lyre strings on the tip of a drunken bard's fingers. They had all stopped in unison, stepping back like a hive of ants. Inej ran the closest one through before he also took a step back, nearly slipping on blood-soaked cobblestones. They stood near the top of the hill where the ground was steep, and soon enough they would be backed into one of the wardens, hunkering down in those mansions of ancient stone where they would die the same as the long-lost builders had. The irony was wasted on the Trevlarians, who didn't know a lick of their own history. "What's wrong?" Layla asked, still on Inej's heels. "Why are they backing up?" Before Inej could answer, the sky lit up, a green pillar rising from the middle of the wood like an obelisk erected to one of the damned divinity. Which, Inej figured, it sort of was. 12 hells, Inej said, his voice hoarse. Daylight had slipped over the horizon, lighting up the ruins of watchful below and giving color to the night's horrors. Smoke hung like fog. "Inej," Layla said, and he could feel her hand pressed against his back. "Steady, lass." Inej shifted his feet, watching the elements closely. They backed up, eyes wide and faces illuminated with the green light. "Hold the line," Thibault called out. If there had been arrows left, he'd probably have ordered a volley. Good man, Inej thought. He'd have made a good general if he weren't going to die on this hill. Miraculously, more Yelmes bodies littered the street below than Trevlarian soldiers, which was a feat in and of itself. The Yelmes turned at Thibault's voice, but they looked uncertain now. Inej shifted the weight of his shield. He wasn't as young as he had once been, and his shoulders and knees cramped. It had been a long night, and one in which not a single command had been called out from a Yelmes commander. It seemed odd, and the ongoing silence unsettled him. They hadn't flanked meaningfully or fallen back to tempt the humans forward, or any strategy at all, only a brutal, frontal assault sustained for hours. Now they looked like lost mutts realizing they'd been chasing the wrong meal. Ain't so simple, eh? Inej mumbled, his beard heavy with sweat and blood. He knew what they had wanted, and they had just lost it. Inej, Layla sounded breathless and weak. The ground shook, causing cobblestones to crack, homes to creak. Soldiers cursed as they tried to keep their feet, and Layla collapsed against his back. Inej didn't turn, even as he felt her slide down his calves and thud against the ground. Something tickled in the back of Inej's mind, a faint memory. But there was no time to consider it, with the small army before him. Oi, Inej called out, his words dragging a handful of Yelmes eyes towards him. What now? Didn't find what you were looking for, eh? One of the demons stepped forward, the shape of a man with almond skin, sweat-drenched hair. His arm bled freely, his hand crackled with energy. Olb Oto Yelelni. Inej spat to the side. I don't speak pitch. It barred its teeth, its eye roaming up and down Inej, as if wanting to pluck free his threads. You distracted us. Inej glanced toward the wood. The pillar of light vanished now, but he could imagine what he would see if he walked into the clearing. It's done now, Inej said. I'd run if I was you. We don't flee. She would come in this way, looking for blood. She'll be weak. The demon breathed out from his nose, turning from Inej and running a hand through his hair. Then he looked at Inej again, but this time taking in the Velk's eyes. How did a Zanyom end up among rats like these? On vacation. The demon snorted. Stay out of our way, and we shall forgive this transgression. Inej nodded toward the wood. Go, I ain't stopping you. With a long whistle, and a crackling hand raised into the sky. The demon ran down the hill. One by one, the others followed until all 24 formed a ragged black line running down the street of Watchful. No one said a word for a long time, though that didn't mean the top of the hill was silent. Chainmail clinked, soldiers muffled sobs. The wounded and dying gasped out hoarse breaths. But no one spoke a word until the last of Kataraka forces marched beyond the wreckage of the downwind. A woman's voice broke the silence. "They're gone?" Like a spell, the tension in Inej's arms and shoulders gave out, his shield and spear falling to his side. "See to the wounded," Thibault called, his sword sliding home into its sheath. The wounded. The word triggered Inej's memory, and he turned to see Layla sprawled out on the cobblestone behind him. Fatigue and something like grief brought Inej to his knees beside her. He picked up her wrist carefully, as if it were nothing but a soft marsh reed. He didn't expect a pulse. The girl had done good, if killing could be called that. She'd stayed in the shadow, followed him longer than she should have been able to. But battle was battle. There'd be a sword wound beneath the cloak. Blood flowed from beneath her, probably from the last one that he had sent her way before. A pulse. Inej grunted, feeling again with his grimy thumb to be sure. It was there, and strong. Inej shifted Layla's body, feeling around her torso and back. Around him, people moved in a hurry, running about with water and bandages. But Inej stayed there beside the girl, his mind still nagging him with distant memory as his hands tried to make sense of why Layla Riker lay unconscious. "Is she dead?" It was Ulian, his face covered with soot and grime, though his spectacles remained miraculously unbroken. "Fainted," Inej grunted. "Where you been?" Ulian ignored him. "Same time." "What?" "She fainted at the same time as the light?" Inej looked up at Ulian. The Maitha nodded, rubbing his chin as if studying jigsaw pieces. That would be a yes, then. Fascinating, of course. I've read all about this, but, well, I suppose you've seen it before. You've seen it before. Inej fell backward as memories from decades past collided with now. She fainted at the same time as the light. The light must mean she's freed, then, yes? Ulian chattered on. And if she's freed, well, we both know what that means. The princess. Ulian waved Inej's words away. You people in Velik always give too much weight to the Fae tales. Do you really think it was the princess who did it? I think we both know the only one on that escapade who ever stood a chance. But if Roy couldn't, Roy wasn't of the wood. Ulian's eyes widened with excitement, his braided mustache bouncing at his chest. I was trying to tell the Riker boy this. His father was an interloper, coming here just, well, like me. Curious, educated, eager, but still foreign. But not Oliver. He was born into the wood. He is a true Strayazar. Inej looked at Layla, his mind grappling. Then she... Yes, Ulian nodded. She's connected to him. Which means she's also connected to... He looked around for a moment, lowering his voice. Praise the Maker, those beasts didn't notice her faint. Otherwise, they'd have killed her. And Oli, by extension. This is bad, Ul. Inej stood. He grabbed his beard, pulling it hard and letting the pain keep him here. In the now, Layla was the Kalut, the spool. Oli was the Retchen, the spindle. Two interconnected pieces of unimaginable power, and neither of them would understand any of it. It could be worse, Ulian said, shifting his glasses. How? Inej growled, pulling his beard harder. He had to stay here. He couldn't let himself leave. He wanted to leave, wanted to run, but he had to stay. Well, at least the girl's with you. She'll follow you. Follow me where? To her slow death? Her life drained from her bit by bit when I sit back and watch? Ulian stood, breathing deep as he looked toward the wood. No, Inej realized, not the wood, the mountains. They were brilliant, their peaks barbed in warm morning light. White and perfect, while their feet still lay in the dark shadow of night. Beyond the Navita Mountains and across the river, I've only read about it, mind you, but I believe your people could save her. Ulian smiled, more than her, really. There's a power loose in the world now, old friend. Ulian pointed toward Layla. Protecting her may mean protecting a great many others. Maybe. Could mean the opposite. It's complicated. Very complicated. True, but there are wells of wisdom in Velik, giants older than you, those who remember. I know what lies in my homeland, Inej snarled, and he stopped himself from touching his eye. Good, Ulian said, clasping his hands together. Then we're agreed. I'll get my things and we'll be off. Then Ulian left, his soot-covered head bouncing down the hill toward the remains of his inn. Inej stood there, wishing he could have argued with the barkeep, but there'd be little point. He had known Ulian a long time, and he knew enough to listen when the little creature was right. Beyond the mountains, well, maybe they would know what to do. And if the elders didn't, then at least it wouldn't be his problem anymore. He could give them the girl, and then he could just leave. Velk. Inej turned. Captain Thibault walked toward him, his eyes rimmed black with fatigue. A woman marched alongside, her skin made darker by the scarlet dress she wore. She looked pristine, like a fine teacup brought to sit beside dirty dishes. Inej grunted. This is Lady Amandine, Duchess of Wardchestern, the captain said, gesturing a hand to the woman. Inej knelt to pick up his shield. Whatever this was about, he didn't want it. The woman coughed lightly, then said, We owe you our thanks and our lives, Master Inej, he said, slinging his shield over his back, and I'm just the tanner. Nonsense. I watched you, Master Inej. There is Artem in you, no? Is that what the order calls it these days? Inej picked up his spear. Amandine gave a firm nod. You are to be commended. When the princess returns, I won't be here. With his free hand, he carefully picked up Layla from the ground, cradling her like a child in the crook of his arm. Thibault stepped forward, eyes moving from Layla to Inej. What are you... Captain, Inej cut him off. You did good, but this ain't over. You see them? Inej hefted the spear, pointed it toward the Yelmes, now a black line running toward the wood, like ship rats. Soon they'll put things together, and they'll start following her. Inej nodded toward Layla, and when they do, you won't want her anywhere near this town or your precious princess, understand? Thibault sighed. He looked annoyed, more than a little uncertain. No, I don't. But either way, I won't stop you. Go with my blessing and my thanks. Then he turned to Amandine. My lady, with your leave, I'll see to my wounded. Thibault left, walking toward the priest, who had already began chanting over the worst of the wounded. Inej thought he could feel the power from the old priest, faint as it was. A few lives would be saved because of him, which almost made Inej like the priest, if just for a moment. Inej looked out at a broken and miserable watchful. How long ago had he come here? He'd always planned to watch over this place, the last bastion of the Ancient One's prison. Now, in the end, he wasn't sure he had succeeded. Will you go across the mountains? Amandine asked. It had been a long time since he'd walked along those peaks, longer still since he'd crossed the river and walked beneath the falls. It's best I be on my way, Inej said, nodding to Lady Amandine. Make her guide you, she said, bowing her head low. More than one retort came to Inej's mind, but he swallowed them back down. He had learned to stop trampling over good intentions. So he turned and walked down the hill, the breeze picking up and running cold fingers over his sweat-soaked face. He'd need to stop by his cabin and grab some things for the girl, or she would never survive the mountain winter. They were a week or more from Velik, and they'd be wading through mountain snow for much of it. Perhaps it was the words of Lady Amandine, or the growing feeling of desperation, but Inej found himself beginning to mumble prayers. They were old ones, taught to him a millennia before, and not uttered by him for nearly 100 years.